Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is David Amerland. David, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm actually thrilled to be here, excited for the conversation ahead.
Yes, I also want to use this opportunity to sincerely thank you for the opportunity, David. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a researcher and a speaker. Can you please, David, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. David?
Well, like most people, I have many layers in what I do. And as you get older in your life, you acquire more skills, you get involved in more areas of expertise. And if you're open to the world and curious, you'll find yourself sort of getting into different aspects. So I'm a chemical engineer by training with a master's in quantum mechanics. I have been involved in search for a while. I wrote the first book on semantic search using my knowledge of mathematics to follow the patterns, follow where things went. I've written books on digital marketing and branding and trust and decision making using neuroscience and intentionality and now fitness. And they all appear to be very different, right? But on the surface, but they're not. They underneath, it's us. It's human people, right? So I'm sort of always interested in what makes us tick. How do we behave in specific contexts? What drives us? What is our motivation? How do we express our intent so that we try to get the outcomes we want? And when I go digging for those things, I find a lot of similarities and some differences.
Definitely. And I also, it's very, very beautiful from the experience you've had, which you've brought into some several books. And that is why I would like to dive to your book, which is Built to Last, which dive more on the fitness area and also the mental transformation as a whole. Can you please, Mr. David, discuss more on the book? And you also have more books you have in mind you are planning to write in the coming future, David?
Well, we talk about fitness, and usually fitness in our mind is associated with physical aspects, a particular look, particular kind of exercises, a certain kind of lifestyle, and part of that is true. But we know that we can't really change on the outside if we don't change on the inside. The brain and the body are intimately interconnected. So everything that affects the body affects the brain, everything that affects the brain affects the body in a complex feedback loop, which is sort of powered by neurochemicals and then hormones and then sort of cell structures. So going to examine fitness, given my background, it didn't make a lot of sense to produce something very prescriptive because we know that it wouldn't work for everybody. There's no one size fits all. So it had to be something which would help the reader understand better how they operate, why some things are easy, why some things are difficult, and then what they should do to help make the easy things easier and the difficult things a little bit easier too.
Exactly, and I also completely agree with you. As you said earlier, if someone have to just work on the outside side and also the inner side as a whole. And I also had the opportunity to read Built to Last, which is very, very inspiring when it comes to fitness. I have to admit that I'm also one of the type of people who usually do not do exercise, but as the time goes on with the education I've learned through the book, I really realized that one of the most important thing we have to put our body into is exercise, because that really helps us physically and even inner. Because if you are okay on the outside, definitely the inner is going to be very, very, very strong enough to do a lot of things. Because a lot of people have a lot of anger issues and stuff like that, and most of the things that cause it might even be due to some areas like exercise. We do know that nutrition is important. We know that sleep is also very important as a whole, but we do know that exercise also play a very powerful role in our life currently. Thank you so much for the opportunity and also the book, David. Firstly, I would like to dive to the area of the book. You've written a lot of from what I've heard earlier. You've written a lot of book when it comes to the social media area and marketing area. What do you think really personally inspired you to write this book, Built to Last? Because it blends into both mental and
Okay.
physical transformation, and rather than focusing on only fitness alone. And in your own understanding, Mr. David, can you please define what the fitness mindset connection really means and why you think it's the foundation of lasting change, David?
Okay, so let's start the first bit first. Um, Every book I write is intended to be an answer to a problem. Otherwise, it wouldn't really help the reader understand much. And this is no exception. I looked at fitness, I looked at the area of fitness globally and the situation we're in. We know that across the world, there's a problem with obesity and being overweight. We know that from the World Health Organization figures that by 2050, over 50% of the global population is going to be overweight or obese. And we know that there's ease of access, plenty of information. There are plenty of things that people can actually find out. There are plenty of things people can do, and yet they don't do them. And that's the problem. And when we have a persistent problem like this, it's not an easy problem, it's a complex one, and the solution cannot be superficial. So I went digging to see exactly what is it that makes us not exercise properly, not eat properly, not look after ourselves, not sleep enough, not recover enough, etc. And what I found essentially is that the human operating system, which is very old, gets in the way of modern life, or rather, modern life trips it up. And then it goes into this loop, which is designed to help us survive in a different past, in a different kind of context. And in this one, it's basically shortening our lifespan. It's killing us, to put it simply. So Built to Last was written to help people understand that there are things they can do. Although we are programmed with very ancient, very old programming, we can reprogram ourselves by doing relatively simple things, relatively simple solutions, small habits that build up and produce better results. So that's why Built to Last was written. Now, as far as mindset is concerned, now that's really important. We know that the way we view the world, our belief system, our values, the perception we have, they guide us in their responses, which are mental, psychological, and physical. So if we have a particular kind of mindset that keeps us at a high level of anxiety, it stresses us out, it makes us feel that we are not sort of part of the world, kind of isolated and unsafe, perhaps. That is expressed physically with elevated levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. We have chronic stress, we have inflammation throughout the body, our major organs do not work properly, and and our lifestyle, or rather our lifespan, is affected as a result. So the way we view things, the way we slowly, gradually build up this mental image in our head, which allows us to understand who we are and how we should behave, is critical for our long-term health, our mental health, and our psychological balance. And again, it's a complex thing, but the solutions are very simple. And again, I detail sort of things you can do in the book, like a kind of blueprint, which allows you to understand just how to control your inner world a little bit better.
Yes, I totally agree with you with that. David, honestly speaking, the world is really in a position whereby everybody are just on the phone and on the phone and on the phone. And that's why everybody, we're having this situation of obesity, people who are not really healthy. And that is why exercise is definitely more needed. It's really complex in its own ways. I have to be honest, David, but we have to just try our best to know the one that really works for us in the long term. And I really love what you said in a place in the book. Everyone has to know the one that definitely what to work on. Is it the muscle? Is it stretching? Is it flexibility? Is it to lose weight? Someone have to choose one and definitely have plans to know how he or she can give that improvement, not to rush, but give that gradual plan. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, and definitely someone should know how to try his or her best to improve that analysis, to try to say, okay, this is what I've lost this month, this is what I've lost in the next month, and this is how the improvement has been going, which are very, very powerful insights that are also built around the book. Thank you so much for the insights, David. And also, I would like to dive to the point of burnout, guilt, and those are the very important thing that is really happening. Even I myself, once time I used to usually get to the point of burnout, and it's definitely not easy, it's always tough. So how do you think someone can overcome the all or nothing trap that always keep them stuck in cycles of burnout or guilt? And also, can you also try your best, David, to also share a simple strategy for handling setback or plateaus without losing this momentum one has, David?
Absolutely. And yes, one excellent question. Okay, first of all, the all in or nothing kind of mentality is the kind of thing that doesn't serve us very well. And I would personally like to see it being ditched by everybody and simply trying to do something. The reason it doesn't serve us very well is it creates a false perception in our head that we need to either train for a long period of time, train to high intensity in order to see results. And if we can't do that, then there's no point in trying. And nothing could be further from the truth. We know from neuroscientific studies and neurobiological studies in particular that when the body trains for 1 minute, that's 60 seconds, the neurochemistry of the bloodstream changes, and the changes are identical to those people who train for a whole hour. So from the body's perspective, 1 minute of exercise or a whole hour doesn't matter. The change happens regardless of the time, which means that if that change happens at a neurochemical level, then it changes our inner hormonal profile, which then impacts all our major organs, affects our inner health, makes us healthier. If we were to exercise just for a minute a day, which is nothing, right? It's about 5.5 hours in a year. At the end of the year, would we be physically different? And the answer to that is most probably not. But if we looked at our biomarkers, if we look at blood pressure, if we look at cortisol levels, if we look at cholesterol levels, if we look at BMI perhaps a little bit, we would find that it is much improved. So that 1 minute a day would actually make us healthier. And that's the significance of doing something as opposed to doing nothing at all. So definitely, I would like to see people try 1 minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And in my book, I've actually got workouts that are just a couple of minutes long. So if you have 2 minutes in a day, just try that. There are breathing exercises which decompress us from a stress point of view and are beneficial to our inner neurochemical balance. Do those. If you know it takes a couple of minutes, you do that and get on with your day. So now coming to your question of what kind of practicality we can apply as a strategy to make sure that we maintain momentum. And that, again, that seems like a difficult question. It isn't really. It's difficult because of a perception. We think that, unless we train 1 or 2 hours a day, every day of the week, we're not going to get anywhere. And if we stopped, then, may as well just give it up for a while and come back. And we sort of go back and forth, peak and trough, and it doesn't work for us. We know that the body changes only when the brain sends a persistent signal for change. That's when the adaptations begin to take place. The signal has to be persistent because the adaptations that happen to the body, improved cardiovascular fitness, improved strength, larger muscles, perhaps, those things which we'd like to see physically happen, they take up a lot of energy. They are energetically expensive for the body to actually implement. And in order for the body to do that, the brain has to send a persistent signal that says, hey, you really need to adapt to this because you do it every day. So when it comes to maintain that momentum, I always say it is what you should do always is what's easiest for you, and then you should do it all the time. If you like walking, walk 5-10 minutes a day. And once you get 5-10 minutes and it's easy for you, make it 15-20 minutes. You like cycling, cycle. You like playing tennis or badminton, do that. But do it every day. Don't do it once a month and think, oh, this is enough. It isn't. Don't do it a couple times a week. Better than nothing, but still not enough. So do the easy things for you and do them persistently. And what you will find is that as you do them persistently, you become better because your body adapts. As you become better, your internal world changes, your perspective changes, how you feel about yourself changes, how you sense the capabilities of your own body, they change. And then your horizon begins to go further away. So now you want to do more. You want to look at other things. Perhaps you look at nutrition. Perhaps you look at the sleep you get. You look at your social life and try to have meaningful social connections because we know that they have a significant impact on our mental health and our psychological health, and then they affect our physical health.
I also want to use the opportunity to sincerely thank you for this insight, David. Honestly speaking, that is just the truth of every single exercise. Every single person, most of the time, when someone have to say, I want to get exercise, I want to, everybody, some people will just be in a position whereby they want to get it fast. And that is not how it was. It gets to a point whereby it becomes a burden. It becomes something that we might get demotivated when it gets to a time. And that is why we have to try our best to look for what works best, what we like enjoying, but it should be every single day. There will definitely be something when it comes to exercise that we love doing every day that is very easy. And definitely those little things, it might be a minute, it might be 2 minutes, it might be 3 minutes, it could play a very powerful role. When it comes to probably 6 months, 1 year, it will definitely help in a very big role, honestly speaking. And it will just be like a massive improvement with the health. That is how exercise is very important. Look for the easy thing, develop it, be patient, and continue to do it every single day. And the improvement will definitely come in its way. It should come to. Thank you so much for the insight, David. And lastly, Mr. David, I would like to dive to people who probably feel like they are stuck, they are overwhelmed, and they are defeated. Some people are really, really suffering with a lot of disease, a lot of issues with that. But like you said earlier, obesity is a very big one. Honestly speaking, we do not have that during our historic time, but now it's really rampant and it could continue to grow in its own time. So for someone who feels like they are listening currently now and they are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or defeated by their fitness journey, where do you think they can start mentally and physically in your experience, David?
If you're starting from a relatively low baseline and you have a lot of work to do, it can be overwhelming. And I always say you need to start slow and change one thing. It's easy sometimes to think, okay, I need to improve my exercise regime. I need to be physically active. I need to change my diet. I need to eat different things and learn and educate myself on that front. I need to improve my sleep. Okay, that's a lot of work. And our day-to-day life, that's a lot of work anyway. We are constantly busy just trying to survive. So I say just do one thing. Just take it one thing at a time. Don't bother about all the other things. Change the one thing which you can change the easiest. If it's your diet, change that. If it's your sleep quality and you can actually improve the quality of sleep you get, change that and go from there. If it's physical activity and you say, okay, I can do this and I can do it every day, okay, go with that. And you will find that that becomes that first step is actually defining in how you're going to maintain momentum as you move forward.
Wow, honestly speaking, that is very, very powerful and beautiful. That means no matter how little it is, it will definitely make a very big impact within the health that we have. I used to say it very well. This body is just like a machine that we just have to continue to maintain with our time. And if we can maintain it very well, then definitely it could help us to live longer than we are expected to live. Honestly speaking, because it is just something that it gets stressed, it gets sickness sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't just work. Sometimes I used to even say sometimes when it gets to a time with my body, probably by the end of the month, and I'll just get to a point I'll just be like, this body is not responding again. What is going on? And that is how the body is, and that is the benefit of doing something that could improve the body. It might not be something that could be very heavy. It could be sleep. It could be diet. It could be the exercise, as you said earlier too, from the discussion. Something that we know that will really help us to develop the health, and it will really help us in a very, very long way. I want to sincerely thank you for the insights on that area, David. Mr. David, there's a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, David, what do you think that thing will be, David?
The thing that's missing consistently in the modern lifestyle is a connection with nature. We don't tend to walk in a park. We don't look at the sky. We don't listen to the wind and feel it on our face because we're just too busy with our lives. And yet we know that these things recalibrate our senses. They help the body calm down. They help relieve stress. They help bring down blood pressure. They actually make us feel good inside. They kind of recharge us. They can recharge our motivation. They can change our perspective. They make us feel glad to actually be alive. And that simple thing, taking just a few minutes a day to look at the sky, to listen to the sounds of nature, to look at the distant horizon, to feel the wind on our face, take a deep breath. Those things actually help us become more fully alive inside our body. And then that expresses itself in so many different ways in our mind and our psychology.
I definitely agree with you, David. Honestly speaking, we're in a world that is filled with technology. The internet is really, really causing a lot of good, and also the other side, and that is the other side. We have this nature that we need in our life. The body is really programmed with the surrounding leaves, breeze, the outside. That is what is connected with. It is not really connected with what we are seeing currently, and that is the main issue, which really increase a lot of anxiety and a lot of issues, by the way, burnout and things like that, which are happening in our time. Nature is something that we really, really need. We need to just see, no matter how little it is very important in our life. I would definitely hope it definitely comes back in our time so that we could definitely have these feelings that we need, this calmness, this kind of peace within us could get us to just have this kind of unimaginable experience that we don't have even when we are on the device and stuff like that. We definitely hope it definitely come back. It's something that we definitely need in our time. I have to be honest. Thank you so much for the insight. I'm David. I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity. Was an opportunity, and you gave all the time and the opportunity and every single thing you could use to build the episode and everything. It's meant a lot to me. So I also want to use this opportunity to thank you. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you for having me here. That was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it.
All right. It's our wonderful day, David. Bye bye.
And take care.